Hi everybody, welcome to our channel. This is Erica.
This is Petros.
And we're an interracial couple. We haven't done a video in a while, but we've been busy with projects and work for Peter. I'm taking a short sabbatical, but we thought we would do a video about something that really brought us together when we met each other. So something that you guys probably already know from another video is that Peter's a writer amongst many other things, and I have this love for books. So I think the moment I met him and then he talked about how he loves to write and to just influence people in a positive way, I was like, so and I actually I've been used to reading since I was a little kid, because my dad used to pay us to read, and he would make us make like book reports. So for some people that might turn them off for reading, but for me it was just like, I don't know, it started a love story with reading. So this video we want to recommend 3 books each that are kind of our favorites, that have really impacted us. There are so many, but it was hard, so we chose 3. So we'll start with book number 1.
Okay, numero uno, The One Thing by Gary Keller. This was a great book because it helps you prioritize your goals to one thing, because a lot of the times we have so many goals, so many things on our plate, but what this book does, it allows you to focus on what's that one thing or that one goal that if you achieved it, it'll help you with all your other goals. So that's a great book if you want to prioritize things in your life. So One Thing by Gary Keller.
And my book that I recommend, it's a little different. He usually does more of like the self-development and self-growth books. I tend to do more of like novels, biographies, like historical things. So I'm gonna recommend Alive, and it's about the survivors of the Andes. And I have to read how to pronounce the name of the author, but it's Piers Paul Reed. This book is about many years ago. I want to say maybe like 20 years already. There was these rugby players that had a crash in the Andes, and the whole book it's about their survivor story. Not everybody survived, but just the ones that survived, kind of how did everything go. They're just telling their story. So it's kind of crazy some of the things that they went through. If you ever see the movie, there's a movie about it, but it just teaches you so much about the human spirit. And it's just, like I felt like that book changed me and gave me this persevering spirit.
So number 2 is, for me, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The author wrote this book in the 30s, and one of the great things is that he managed to interview a lot of the billionaires and millionaires back then when the Great Depression was happening. And so he talks about a lot of like mindset, visualization, and just being very clear on what you want in life, because what you want may be different than the next person. So this is a great book for anybody who wants to be wealthy or just wants to be successful in whatever area that is, and however way you define it. So Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill is my number 2 book.
Yeah, and I might be very wrong, but I think this book was written like in the 1930s.
Yes,
maybe. So I read this book recently, and I feel like this guy has so much vision. Like he's just ahead of his time. So it's just very inspiring, and like I want to be a person of so much vision.
Right.
So that takes me to my numero 2, which is gonna be a novel by Jeffrey Archer. He's British, and I love novels. And this novel, it's called The Prodigal Daughter. So it's a sequel to another book that's called Cain and Abel. So this story is about this woman, but it follows her throughout her whole life and even her parents' life. That's a first book. But she wants to, like, one of her dreams is to be a president. So I read this when I was a teenager, and it was so inspiring, and and I love the complexity of the characters and his writing style too. And I don't know, again, it was an inspiring book. So I guess now I know that I like to be inspired by books.
Okay. So finally, number 3 for me is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. David Goggins he was a Navy SEAL, and he's considered one of the strongest men in the world. But what I like about this book is that it really goes down into how he became that. Really just sharing his life story and all the struggles that he went through. Like, it's probably the most vulnerable and raw books I've ever read. So it really gets to take away the mask and you get to see him for who he truly is. So there's definitely a great book I highly recommend for anyone that wants to feel inspired in their lives.
Oh, that sounds like my kind of book. And it's like real life experiences. So perfect. So, and my third book, this is actually going to be a personal development book, but I also have to say that Peter is my favorite author for personal development, and I love his book about being an introverted immigrant. I recommend it for any immigrant and any introvert. I feel like even though I'm not an introverted, I could relate a lot as an immigrant.
Yeah.
So it has lots of gold nuggets. But the one I'm gonna recommend I recommend that one, but the one I'm recommending too is Scary Clothes by Donald Miller. Right now he's a business owner and he helps people develop their business. But once upon a time, he mostly was a writer, and he wrote this book about being vulnerable and kind of his own journey when he realized like, hey, maybe wearing this mask of, I don't know, success or whatever, like gets on the way of my me developing close relationships. So I think I couldn't, it's not that I thought I was fake or was wearing a mask before, but I think once I read the book, I was confronted with masks that maybe I was wearing and I was not aware of, and how they were getting in the way of my relationships. So I read it already a good 6 years ago, maybe 7, and it was really life-changing. And with that, we also have some news.
So on January 5th, I'm going to be releasing my third book, which is The Writer's Journey: Secrets to Overcoming Self-Doubt when Writing Your First Book. So it just goes to where I share 18 secrets from 18 authors, where they share their insights and experience on their struggles of writing their first book. Because a lot of people think that when you start out, like it's easy, but it's really not. So these authors share their different stories and perspectives on the struggles they went through and how they overcame it. So I'm really excited. This is going to be a great book. Yeah. And also, Erica has some good news.
Well, I wanted to say, before I say my good news, what I wanted to say is that, you just said that writing your first book, it sounds easy, but it's not. But it's not easy. But at the same time, I don't know, it's like in the middle, right? Like it's hard, but at the same time, when you have a passion for something,
it's doable. You can make it happen.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm reading the final draft before it's published, and I'm really inspired. So I'm in chapter 6 right now. I started it yesterday, but it was really good, so I kept going. So I've actually been writing a book myself, and then just reading the book, I was like, okay, where have I been stuck? Let me finish this, let me add that, let me put this idea, and I think now I'm almost finished now. But it's a children's book, so I'm still working with someone to illustrate it. So I'm very excited about that. So we're both having books soon. Yours is gonna be sooner than mine.
Yes.
But it's another thing, like, hey, we're from a whole different country. Like, he's like Ethiopian, Mexican, we have here in the US, but just how much you can connect, right? How cool is that?
Yeah. So now we connect as readers, and we're now connecting as writers.
Yes. So just wanted to share that, and see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.